We're about to show you the top 15 mistakes that are destroying your pickleball game, but more importantly, we're going to show you how to fix them right now.
Go ahead and subscribe, and let's start with number 1.
The first mistake is having too giant of a backswing in all of your shots. Your serve might look like this with a giant backswing. If you have a giant backswing, your drops might look like this. And your dinks probably pop up like this. Nope. A lot of people come from tennis and they have this giant backswing, and here's why that doesn't work in pickleball. Whenever your paddle goes outside of your field of view, you have no idea where your paddle is in space. So when balls are coming towards you, it's very likely that you're going to miss-hit that ball. In pickleball, the court is smaller and balls come at you a lot faster, giving you less reaction time. So when you take a big swing, you're not going to have enough time to prepare and hit an accurate shot. Here's how to fix this. As the ball is coming towards you, keep your paddle out in front of you so you can see where your paddle is in space. By keeping your paddle out in front of you, you're going to naturally have smaller strokes, meaning that you can hit shots with more control. The same thing applies with dinks. Keeping your paddle out in front of you and hitting with super small strokes, as opposed to going for big backswings and then trying to control the ball off of that. Even on drives, you don't have to start with a giant motion. You can start from your hip and still hit with pace. Pickleball is more about control, so keep your strokes small and keep your paddle in front of you. This mistake is about not knowing how you win your points. Think back to your last match. Can you tell me how you won literally any of your points? Probably not. You should know that. So if I'm playing against Caleb here and I'm hitting balls to his backhand and that's winning me points, it'd be very silly for me to start hitting balls to his forehand knowing that his backhand is probably his weaker suit. So try to find strategies where you can pick apart your opponents, and when it works, keep doing that same thing.
The next mistake almost everyone makes is standing up out of their drives. It's actually a really easy fix. You just try to mentally tell yourself to literally stay low. A lot of people like to hit their drives with their arms, like this. If you do that, you're not getting low and getting in a solid ready position. That's gonna keep you low throughout the entire drive. So when a ball's coming at you and you're ready to drive, get low and come through it. You'll get far more power and be way more stable throughout the entire shot. Otherwise, it's gonna look like this. Shay, give me a ball. And it's gonna go out and you're gonna be confused. So try to stay low through the entire shot. Get in a solid ready position, and when the ball is fed to you, stay low. You'll be far more stable and your balls will go in. One of the most common mistakes in pickleball is being lazy. Now that sounds kind of broad, but let's break it down in simpler terms here. A really common scenario I see players struggle with is when they're in a dink rally. You have the option of shuffling, moving your feet, and making sure every single shot is consistent and balanced, or you can plant your feet and hit the ball without even moving. That's the most common mistake I see, and it's just because people won't be bothered to move all the way to the ball and hit a proper shot back over the kitchen. All right, let's show you how to shuffle. Here, move your feet, get your body out of the way of your paddle, get back in the point, move, and lazy. We don't wanna move, we don't get low, we let the ball fly all over the place right at the camera. That's because we have no control because we're not bothered to move on the court.
Another mistake is not being ready as the ball is hit. When the ball is about to hit your opponent's paddle, you should be split step with your feet, meaning that the second he's about to hit this ball, I should get my feet wide and low and get ready. Very often you'll see players do this, where as the ball is coming towards them, they're moving in and then they try to recover and get ready super late instead of being down low, ready to return any ball coming at them. Here's an example of what most people do. So if Caleb hits me a ball, I'll hit it, move in, and then as he's hitting it, still running in, and I never really take steps to split step. And here's an example of what really good players do. So they hit the ball, come up, right before he hits it, get ready. He's about to hit it, I'm getting ready. He's about to hit it, I'm ready. Every single time before he hits the ball, I'm ready.
One of the most common problems we see in pickleball is not going for enough margin on your drops. And it's super easy to fix. All you have to do is aim a little higher on your drops. It makes sense because when you hit a drop, you don't want your opponent to attack. But actually giving yourself a little more margin is not a bad thing, especially if you're skilled at resets and can get back into the point. Most people want their drops to cross the net right here, just above the net. But pros actually drop the ball up here and the ball arches down over the net like this, because there's so much more margin that the pros give themselves, which means a more consistent drop. So give yourself a little more space over the net. It's gonna save you a lot more errors during your match.
Another common mistake that we see all the time are players trying to make contact with the ball on the rise. Often when you're back here and you're about to hit a drop and the ball's coming towards you, you'll feel the need to hit it on the rise. But really what you should be doing is waiting for that ball to hit its peak and then start to come down so it has less momentum, less spin, and then you make contact like this. So ball's coming towards me, I wait for it to hit its peak, and then I hit up on the ball. The same thing happens whenever we're dinking. In dink rallies, try to let the ball start to drop before you hit it if you can. Drop and hit. If you are receiving aggressive dinks though, then you might have to hit it on the rise, like that. Most players don't warm up at all. They get to the courts and they want to play a game right away. Here's a simple warm up for you. Before you even get on the court, you should be stretching, but if you don't take time to do that, then when you get on the court, start with some dinks, and as you're hitting your dinks, try to get down into a deep squat and shuffle around. So like deep squat, trying to move a bit. This will get you warmed up pretty fast. After you hit some dinks, have one player start to move back and hit shots from midcourt. Same thing from the midcourt, you want to be kind of in a deeper ready position the entire time just to get your legs warmed up a little bit more. Once you hit from the kitchen and the midcourt, move back to the baseline and start hitting drives and drops from here. One of the last things I would do is also have your drilling partner warm you up with some lobs so you can hit overheads. Make sure you always do this before getting into any pickleball game.
One of the biggest problems we see with players in pickleball is complaining about the wind. On a day like today, actually, a strong breeze can be the difference between a ball going in and out. But it's all about your mentality. If you really think that the wind is going to decide whether you win or lose the match, you're probably wrong. Though the wind might cost you 1 or 2 points during a match, it's almost never the deciding factor between which team is the winner overall. So let's go through a couple tips to help you play against the wind so you don't feel the need to complain anymore. The first step is when the wind is at your back. Whenever that's happening, I recommend hitting more drops because your drives are likely going to go out. But on the other hand, if the wind is in front of you, coming towards you, you can hit more drives with confidence because that ball is going to stay in with more margin. So now that you have some of these tips, don't complain about the wind, instead use it to your advantage.
The next common mistake that a lot of people make in pickleball is not watching the ball in all of their shots. This happens a lot of different places on the court, but the first one is on the serve. When you're about to serve a ball, you should be watching the ball all the way until it hits your paddle. Sometimes when we're serving, we'll go to serve the ball, and then right before we make contact, we look up to where the ball is going to go. Don't do that. Watch the ball all the way through contact like this. The second place this happens a lot is in the midcourt. When you're resetting balls or hitting drops from here, it's really easy to look up at your opponents rather than focusing on the ball that you're about to hit. So when you're here, watch the ball all the way to your paddle, like this. When you're in the midcourt, don't do this, which is looking at your opponents rather than the ball you're about to hit. When you're at the kitchen, it changes a bit. If you're in a slow dinking rally, then you can usually watch the ball all the way through contact, like this. But if things start to get a little faster and you get into hands battles, you're gonna have to use your peripheral vision a lot more. In fast hands battles, it's almost impossible to watch the ball all the way to your paddle, but you can still watch it pretty close to your paddle. So if I'm about to hit this ball, usually I'll lose the ball right around this area. And then from here on, I'm just relying on my peripheral to make sure I hit it in the right spot.
Another incredibly common thing we see with pickleball players is that they don't want to practice serves and returns. You might go out to a drilling session and work on your dinks or your drops or your volleys or your hands, but hardly people want to work on their serve and return. The reason why it's absolutely essential that you practice those two things is because they are the two shots that always happen every single point. So make sure you're practicing them at every opportunity, even prioritize it over typical drills with dinks and drops. So let's go through a couple options to practice your serves and returns. The first and simplest way is to literally go out with a bucket of balls and hit as many serves as possible. But don't just aim anywhere on the court, aim for targets like a backhand or a forehand or depth. Challenge yourself and make your serve stronger. So let's go through a couple serves and how deep we can get it into the court. So when I'm hitting a serve, I'm not just thinking I want to get it into the big box, I'm thinking how deep can I get it, and can I get it towards the middle of the court, towards Shay's backhand. Good. All right, let's hit a couple more and see if I can get it to Shay's forehand. And we'll do one more, see if we can get it a little bit deeper. Perfect. And the next thing you need to master is returns. So the awesome news is you can work on both serves and returns at the same time. Just bring a buddy with you. So like I was just hitting some great serves to Shay, Shay's job right there was to practice some returns. So Shay, I'm gonna hit you some serves. I want you to hit me really solid returns, nice and deep. Here we go. Nice. One more. And that's pretty much how you practice returns. Just like that. It seems super simple, but these really are the two most important shots in pickleball. So make sure to practice them, grab a buddy, and try it out.
A big mistake that a lot of people make is not taking advantage of their opponent's bad overheads by using the lob. When you started playing, you probably used the lob a lot and saw the lob a lot, and it may have given you a lot of trouble, but now that you're further into your game, it's likely that you're not using it because it's kind of controversial. A lot of people don't like dealing with the lob, but when you get into competitive play, it can be your best friend. The first thing to know is when to lob. There are really only 2 times that you would ever lob. Number 1 is if you're at the kitchen line in a dink rally. Caleb and I will start dinking. If he hits me a ball that kind of sits up, instead of speeding it up, I can just go for a dink and then actually lob the ball, and it puts him under a lot of pressure. The second time you might lob is when you're on the defense and you need time to recover. If I'm in midcourt and I'm trying to reset balls and one gets slightly past me to the outside, then it might be a good idea to hit a lob so I have more time to recover. The second tip to know about lobs is where to lob. So if I'm playing a right-handed player, the best place I can lob is over their left shoulder. So when we're dinking down the line, I want to also lob down the line over his left shoulder. The third tip is what to do after you lob. The second that you lob, don't stand there and watch your shot to see how good it was. Get down, ready, and in an athletic position to return whatever ball comes back at you. In the case that they do hit a good shot, you'll need to be ready to defend it. It's probably time for you to add the lob back into your game.
Most pickleball players play doubles, but don't do it correctly. A huge issue we see is the lack of communication on the pickleball court. And there's a super easy way to fix it, just talk. Let's go through a couple scenarios and some options that you can say to your partner to make sure all the balls that you hit are the right ones. One of the most common scenarios we see miscommunication between partners at the pickleball court is when the ball comes in the middle, especially at the baseline. So when a ball's coming towards middle, say, mine, and take it. It's that simple. And now my partner knows I'm going for that ball. But if we don't talk, we do one of these numbers. So there's 4 basic calls that you need to know. Mine, which means I'm going to take it. Yours, which means please come help me. And stay, which means, hey, let's not go into the kitchen just yet. And go, which means go forward because I'm setting you up right now. Stay. Go. A great scenario to call go is when you hit a strong drive and your partner is ready to hit a smash volley. So try out communicating more effectively. I promise your partner's gonna love it.
A giant mistake that happens all the time is early in matches not testing if your opponent can handle speed ups. Early in the match, you might be nervous, so when you get up to the kitchen line, all you can do is just hit safe, short dinks. So this is me really nervous in the beginning of a match, trying to hit safe short dinks because I'm afraid of messing up in front of all the people that are watching. What you should do early in matches, if you're unfamiliar with your opponents, is try to hit different parts of their body and see where they mess up. So now early in a match, he's also nervous. Instead of hitting a nice short safe dink, I might just speed up the ball and see if he can handle it. If he does handle it well, then you might not want to do that again. So this is also me in the beginning of a match. My opponent is also feeling those same nerves. So instead of hitting safe short dinks back, I might want to speed up and just see how they handle it. When you speed up early, there's 2 things that might happen. Number 1, they could return it with ease and you know not to speed up at that player. The second thing that might happen is they might panic whenever you hit it at them and then you found a weakness that you can exploit later. So try out speeding up early in matches to take advantage of your opponent's nerves.
One of the most common mistakes we see pickleball players make is gripping the paddle with too much force. When you death grip that paddle, you're too rigid and the balls you hit are going to go out more often. Here's a death grip. Flies out every time because your paddle face is going to naturally force open when you're gripping it that tight. So find a balance in between. Don't completely loosey-goosey your paddle. That's not going to help you too much. Also, gripping the paddle too tight can be a common cause for tennis elbow or tendonitis. But don't go to the other extreme and hit extremely loose shots with your paddle. You want to find a balance right in between. You want it to be loose enough that you're comfortable, but firm enough that you have control over your shots, especially when a ball's coming fast at your body. So try fixing your grip and see if that helps your game. Those are the 15 mistakes that everyone needs to fix, but there's actually a 16th mistake that not many people are aware of, and that's not being subscribed to our newsletter.
In our newsletter, we give you even more weekly tips, and you can find that in the description of this video. And if you want even more crack content, then YouTube thinks you're gonna really like this video. Click on it.